Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at some more types of successions. We're going to look at Hydrosere and Samasere. So Hydrosere we're going to start off looking at, and this is the development life on water bodies. Whereas Samasere is on sand, things like dunes by the beach. Okay. So if we look at water bodies to start with, there's lots of reasons why water bodies might develop. Retreating glaciers, in the mountains, leaving behind tarns and lakes. You have the meandering of rivers, leaving behind oxbow lakes. You have areas where large mammals can wallow and break into shallow lying waters. So there's lots of different reasons why you might have a body of fresh water develop. So let's say that this is in like a lowland environment. It's an oxbow lake that has been isolated from the main river, and we've got this sort of classic pond shape. All right, so it's mostly open water. It's quite deep. You've got some shallows around the edges here, and the first thing that will colonize it are things like free floating algae that have come up from the soil or blown in as spores. So you have algae, and you have flying insects, things like water beetles and pond skaters and stuff like that. They can colonize water bodies quite quickly. You have things like ducks. Um, they actually get a lot of diatoms and algae and single-celled organisms sort of stuck to their feet and feathers and stuff like that, and so they are quite a good vector at moving things around um, a lake. So you start having this microscopic life develop. Okay, over time you get. Oh, I made it a bit deeper then. Sorry, it's meant to be the same place. You have um, things like floating plants are the first things that you find, so things like duckweeds and little bits of pondweed like that. And at the edges, you start to have things like reeds and rushes develop. Okay, now as time goes on, these die and deposit dead organic matter into our pond, starting to build up a layer of sediment at the bottom, and this goes on time and time again. All right. As that takes place, as more plants grow and then die and deposit their dead organic matter, we find actually that our pond, which started off quite deep, is starting to get shallower and shallower as the layers of sediment fill up the bottom edge. Okay, and this means that the plants that are adapted for shallows are able to get further and further towards the center of my pond, and that increases the rate of dead organic matter buildup in my pond. So this dead organic matter, you'll see this written as DOM like that, builds up quite quick, quite steadily. So the sort of deep water or open water specialists are outcompeted and have to move on or die. What we find is eventually that our depression is nearly entirely filled up with sediment and dead organic matter, and we just have maybe a small depression in the middle there. Our aquatic species, they've all been outcompeted, and the abiotic factors are outside of their range of tolerance, so they die out. and you get plants that are able to cope with waterlogged soil. Because it is a depression, it's still going to be very waterlogged. And you get things like willows developing, which are sort of, they can be actually quite big trees. They're adapted for growing in wet conditions, very fast growing. They are deciduous trees, so they, in the winter, they will shed a lot of their leaves, well, all of their leaves, sorry, and because they grow quite big and quite quickly, this will massively increase the rate of dead organic matter buildup, filling up that soil. They also transpire a lot, which helps dry the soil. So we end up with like more sort of trees that are able to cope with drier conditions. Things like oaks start to colonize. They're going to block out a lot of the light. So these biotic factors are then going to dominate the abiotic factors. We're going to have our climax community developing. And again, in the southwest, we'd be familiar with temperate oak forest. If it's raining enough, like up in Exmoor or somewhere, then, or Dartmoor, it might be a temperate rainforest even. So you can see our climax community actually ends up being the same as our lithosere climax community.